Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Chloe Feng. Here's a look at tonight's top stories. The city runs short of flu medication as Hongkongers empty pharmacy shelves. After nearly 3 years of self-isolation, China will open its borders to the world early next month. And the local tourism industry gears up for cross-border travel. Hong Kong has run out of paracetamol, which is widely used to treat COVID symptoms such as fever. A surge in COVID cases has also made it difficult for people to receive immediate treatment at designated clinics. Janice Low reports.
With China rolling back its stringent COVID measures, infections have surged. As Hong Kongers snap up paracetamol for their friends and families on the mainland, shelves have been left empty. Pharmacies that still have the medication have been quoting sky-high prices. Customers at this pharmacy were asked to pay $380 for this box of paracetamol, more than 3 times the usual price. Some shops have imposed a limit on the quantity that can be bought so that more people can have access, but this has not been the case. Chang Tak-wing, vice chairman of the Hong Kong General Chamber of Pharmacy, assured the public that paracetamol is still available, and only the drug sold under one specific brand name is in short supply. However, he did not rule out the possibility that some pharmacies might be holding the drug to sell it at a higher price later. Another issue faced by people who contracted COVID is the long waiting time at designated clinics. Due to a surge during the 4-day Christmas holiday, it is impossible for those who caught the virus to make a same-day appointment. This woman tested positive yesterday, but could only manage to get an appointment for today. Another woman said her 90-year-old mother was infected, but had to go to a private clinic as it is not possible for the elderly to queue for such a long time. Local COVID infections have dropped for the 3rd consecutive day. Another 53 people succumbed to the virus. Although the waiting time at outpatient facilities of public hospitals has dropped to 6 hours compared to 8 yesterday, the overall occupancy of beds is at 116%, up 4% from Boxing Day. Janice Low, HKIBC.
People arriving in China will no longer need to undergo quarantine from early next month as the country opens its doors to the world after nearly 3 years. The move comes after health authorities decided to downgrade COVID to a less infectious disease. In another abrupt move, the State Council has approved scrapping quarantine for inbound travelers from January the 8th. It was another decisive shift away from the stringent zero-COVID policy, which had isolated China from the rest of the world for 3 years. Travelers with a negative PCR test 48 hours before departure can enter the mainland and need not apply for health codes. Curbs on the number of international passenger flights will be lifted, and arrangements for incoming foreigners will be enhanced. Officials said outbound tourism will commence in an orderly manner. The changes come on the back of the decision by the National Health Commission to treat COVID as a Category B disease. During the pandemic, stringent protocols which apply to more severe Category A illnesses were followed, giving the authorities the right to quarantine patients and initiate lockdowns. COVID will officially be known as a novel coronavirus infection instead of a novel coronavirus pneumonia. One of the mainland's top health experts, Liang Wannian, defended the downgrade as a more scientific and accurate prevention measure to rein in the epidemic and strike a balance between disease control and socio-economic development. There are no large-scale deaths so far in the first wave of massive infections, he added. However, online footage showed mortuaries running out of space. Since Sunday, the National Health Commission has stopped announcing daily COVID cases. Japan will tighten border controls for arrivals from the mainland due to the surge in COVID cases there. The measures, which take effect on Friday, were announced by Prime Minister Fumio Kishida. In addition to limiting the number of daily flights, arrivals who have spent 7 days in China will need to take a PCR test at the airport. Those who test positive will need to quarantine for 7 days at designated facilities. Travelers from Hong Kong and Macau will not be subject to the testing requirements for now, but can enter Japan only through 4 airports, including Narita and Haneda in Tokyo. Online travel portals on the mainland have been hit by a tsunami-like wave for searches of overseas flights and hotel bookings as the country breaks its COVID shackles. But many people took time to reflect on the pandemic and the harsh curbs. For families who have been separated, business people who could not cross the border, or lorry drivers who saw their earnings diminish because of harsh COVID rules, this is a moment they have been waiting for. It also signals hope for the beleaguered travel industry after the pandemic and COVID curbs stifled growth. Online travel portal Trip.com said the new COVID policy has had a significantly positive impact. Searches for flights from the mainland to overseas destinations, including hotels, increased tenfold in a 30-minute period after the reopening announcement. Another portal, Qunar.com, also reported a big spike in searches for international flights, with Thailand, Japan, and South Korea being the top destinations. Searches for flights from Hong Kong to the mainland also surged. Trip.com said its average query increased by over 500% from a week ago, with Beijing, Shanghai, Hangzhou, Chengdu, and Nanjing topping the list of destinations. But travel was not on everyone's mind. Many took to social media to express their emotions. People left comments on the Weibo account of Chinese doctor Li Wenliang, the whistleblower who first reported COVID and eventually died after contracting the virus. This user said, "The reopening is just a beginning. Many are still suffering from COVID. I wish everyone will be healthy." But many also expressed concerns about the surge in cases as hospitals are overwhelmed. Hong Kong's travel industry is gearing up for the reopening of the border with the mainland. Starting early next month, those going to the mainland will not have to undergo quarantine, but a negative PCR test 48 hours before arrival is still mandatory. Timothy Choi from the Tourism Association welcomed the move and hoped the reopening would give a much-needed boost to the travel trade. Lawmaker Kingsley Wong urged the government to be well prepared to handle the rush of travelers, especially during the Lunar New Year. The National People's Congress Standing Committee has begun a meeting amid speculation that it may discuss Hong Kong's request for a decision on whether a foreign lawyer can represent media tycoon Jimmy Lai. According to the Xinhua news agency, Xia Baolong, director of the Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office, explained to delegates that the SAR had requested an interpretation of the national security law. Xinhua did not elaborate. Hong Kong approached Beijing after the Court of Final Appeal said British barrister Tim Owen can defend Lai. During their 4-day session in Beijing, the Standing Committee will discuss several issues, with economic recovery expected to top the agenda. Overseas, a blizzard has killed at least 60 people across the United States, with officials warning that the worst may be yet to come.
We know that the storm is coming back. We're expecting another 6 to 12 inches. And in the south towns, the southern part of Erie County, a little bit south of here, they had 30 to 40 inches of snow overnight. So anyone who declares victory and says it's over, it is way too early to say this is at its completion of maybe the severity is downplaying now. And right now it's not as bad as it had been over the last couple of days, but it is still a dangerous situation to be out.
The city of Buffalo in New York State is among the worst hit areas. At least 27 deaths were reported. Some died in their snow-trapped cars, and some because they had no heating at home. Officials expect the fatality toll to rise. The storm forced the cancellation of 15,000 flights in recent days and crippled land transport. Medics in Indonesia are providing emergency treatment to a second group of Rohingya migrants whose rickety boat arrived in the northern province of Aceh.
We came here just to take this hope the Indonesian people and government will give us the access of education.
Many of the 185 Rohingyas who landed in Pidi district were dehydrated after drifting in the sea for more than 3 weeks. Another group of 57 reached Aceh on Sunday. They had set sail from a refugee camp in Bangladesh. The Rohingyas, who are Muslim, fled to neighboring Bangladesh several years ago to escape persecution in Myanmar. Many hope to start new lives in Malaysia or Australia. On to the weather now. Tomorrow will be mainly fine and dry, with a temperature between 14 and 19 degrees. It will get cooler later in the week. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. That's our main news for Tuesday night. Join us for more news at 11. I'm Chloe Feng. Thanks for watching. Good night.